Nice big voice.
Oh, it'll get bigger than that, believe me. Yes. That little whisper you just heard, that is not me, no. Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with all of you, to meet all of you. And you're all on my list, almost all. Some are too young, not many, for this project. But let's talk about what I came to talk about today. So I'm on the board of directors of the Veteran Feminists of America, and I'm the co-chair of the Oral History Project along with Kathy Rand, another longtime feminist from Chicago. VFA was founded 25 years ago. Our founder was Jackie Sebelius. She was the president of New York City chapter of NOW in the early days and a feminist leader. And she pulled us together over 25 years ago now, pulled some people together, and the purpose of the Veteran Feminists of America was both historical and personal. Jackie felt, she was actually envious of her brother who had the VFW, and he, hung out with his guys and the guys he served with, and they had a great time talking to each other, and she was like, we need that. So that was the personal aspect of it, to get feminists together who had worked together over the years and to try to give them a place to come. But the more important goal was to preserve the history of the second wave feminist movement. And so VFA over the years has had a lot of conferences and get-togethers and even parties to be able to bring people together. Every single one of them was recorded. They had that foresight. Everything is videoed, everything's taped, everything's available. So over the years, we established that. We tried to have conferences on various topics. We had one in St. Louis and featured labor women and did the history of women feminists in the labor movement. We did another one in North Carolina last year, and the topic was somewhat different. But each time we tried to bring people together to teach the history of the second wave feminist movement, but also to make sure that we shared it. Over the years, we had all those activities. Karen Mulhauser isn't here today, but I remember she staffed one of them. It was at the Women's Party building, and we gave, I think somebody said they received an award from VFA, and we have tried to do that to identify individuals over the years who are worthy of being recognized. So the other thing that VFA has done rather recently is a collaborative partnership with the New York Historical Society Center for Women's History, which is a museum and library that has a partnership with Columbia University. Then their work is developing curricula, exhibits, and online courses. Muriel Fox was one of the last living founders of NOW. She was 36 when NOW was founded. Her dress, she's a very elegant person. She's still living, she's in her early 90s. And her dress that she wore to some of the marches, replicating a feminist, the suffragist look, is now been featured in one of the exhibits that they've sponsored. But in the last 2 years, the subject today, the VFA has created this project to preserve the history of individual second wave feminists. We're gathering oral histories from feminists active between 1966 and 1982. We believe that the women's movement was a grassroots movement of women of all ages, races, education, geography, and background. And that the goals, that the achievements that we had over the second wave would not have been possible without the participation of all these women, and we want to tell their stories. We want them to tell their stories. From small towns, big cities, all across America. So this is where you come in. We want their and your voices recorded for history. It's a big job with a time clock that's ticking. We started just about a year ago. We have about 50 interviews with many more in the pipeline. We have a website, veteranfeministsofamerica.org, where the pioneer histories are, you can find them. Here's how it goes, and I brought my little samples of how to do this, because we need you to be interviewed, and we need you to do some of the interviewing, because we don't have any staff at all. We have a couple of staff people, one working on the website and one working on editing the material as it comes in. but we don't have staff to run around the country and try to interview everybody. So everybody here is being recruited both to be an interviewee, but to also perhaps be an interviewer if you're up to it. So the years are 65 to 82, and here's how the interview gets done. So you need someone to record the interview, obviously, and you need equipment to do that. And I'm going to show you how, I'm going to say how easy this is. Here's the equipment. Your cell phone, your iPhone, a little thing, a little trivet that you put on a tripod, thank you, I couldn't think of that word. And you put it, perhaps on a pile of books. You're across the table with somebody. And then you have a long cord so that you don't run out of juice while you're doing it. And basically, that's it. We provide questions. We suggest the same questions. If you want to modify the questions, you can modify the questions. We have a permission slip and a biography. So before you start the interview, you work with the interviewee fills out a biography, gives the interviewer some sense of who this person is if they don't already know them. And then usually or hopefully the interviewee sort of goes through in her own mind over the preparation time the week before the conference to try to remember names and get things that they wanted, the points that they want to make. We have on the website there is a manual so that everybody can go through here and it'll tell you how to set up the interview, how to make sure, how to remind you to turn off your phone so that it doesn't beep in the middle, and to try to suggest that you try to find a place in the house where the dog isn't going to jump on the table, or, whatever. And so it's easy. We make it as easy as possible. And and we have a staff person. Once you get the interview done, you send it to the staff person. She then goes through and does edits based on things like whether you blew your nose in the middle of the interview and you don't exactly want that, or whether the dog actually did jump on the table. You can take that out. But you are part of the process. You get to review everything that's done, and nothing is done without your permission. The first thing that happens when the interview comes in is there's a way to digitally transcribe the interview. Every one of our interviews has both the oral and visual, although there are some people who have chosen to do it only on the phone, so we don't have a visual, but most of them have a visual. And then it's transcribed. This is important. I actually spoke to a young historian before we got started with this project. And I said to her, she's in her 30s, I said, Katie, what do you actually need from us before we're not here? She said, we need the stories. And this is exactly what she describes. The primary audience, although this will be wonderful for your grandkids, the primary audience for this is historians who can actually write about what actually happened. Twiss's point is well taken, and I hope we will have a variety of points of view, because everybody who was at the same event or had a disruption at the same meeting does not have the same point of view. So we're very much hoping to get a breadth of interviews so that the full story is told to the extent possible. So so this is, I think, a very important initiative, because I think if we're going to have the real story of the real women's movement, we have to see the everyday people, not just a handful of people who become the stars of movements. And we all know that as important as they are, and as much as we love them, that we also need to have the story of the everyday women who are doing the work. So, so this is the essence of it. I live in Washington, D.C., but I can't promise you that I'm going to do every one of your interviews. So I honestly need you to really take seriously the idea of becoming an interviewer as well as an interviewee. We're also working with a university to try to preserve all this, so that even though, we might be able to preserve our website ad infinitum, we want to make sure that the material is also in a library and part of a permanent collection. So we're working on that too. So that's the essence of it, and I welcome any questions you have about how to be involved. And I just really, really hope that all of you will take the opportunity to be a part of this project.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
Thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
You're welcome. I also wanted to say, I meant to say, do this partly because it's so much fun to sit down and have that interview, to maybe see somebody you haven't seen for 20 years, to sit
Right.
down and have that interview. It's really fun. It's another reason to do it.
And we like fun.
We like fun.